Well, guys, it's 2024. It is the offseason, and we are still talking about the Steelers' future at the quarterback situation. It's been a few short years after the retirement of Ben Roethlisberger, and it seems like the Steelers have yet to find their answer at quarterback. And with Mike Tomlin's recent comments in his end-of-season interview, he did mention that Kenny Pickett will be the quarterback one. He has retained his quarterback one duties. However, he will receive competition.
There will be competition for Kenny Pickett.
And as there should be, there needs to be. You need to push Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett is on a very, 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 very short leash now after a disappointing second year. Whatever excuse you want to make about Matt Canada or the O-line or this and that, it's just the point of the fact that if you watch the game, if you watch the film, Kenny Pickett, as an NFL passer, as an NFL quarterback, did not take any jump from his rookie year. None. No. He was slow in his reads against defense. He just has no pocket presence, awareness, no stability. And some of that has to do with the line, but my goodness. And I feel like towards the end of the season, when you saw Mason in there, you saw a complete difference at the quarterback position, which really exposed Kenny Pickett's errors. I feel like Mason's rise at the end of the season really showed that Kenny Pickett is not the future. At least not yet. In fact, I find it hard to say that he can still be the future because I just don't see it. I know with the quarterback situation and the quarterback position, you got to be very patient, but Kenny just showed zero growth.
No, as a matter of fact, he more so regressed from his rookie season.
Yeah, he looked more like a rookie this year than he did last year.
Yeah. Or technically 2 years ago.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
But I feel like in his rookie year, he showed some flashes where I was confident that he would grow, that he would, grow as an NFL quarterback.
And that's what you've seen in Kenny's rookie year. He showcased that confidence in the pocket. He showed those flashes of solid ball placement and accuracy, and even to some degree, arm strength of how far he could get the ball down the field.
Yeah.
But this past season, we saw nowhere near to what we've seen toward the second half of his rookie season. He was less aggressive. He was less confident. He seemed like he was playing scared, like he was scared to lose his job.
Yeah, and I feel like the only thing that we saw from year one into year two was the fact that, yeah, he can win us games in the fourth quarter, but you also got to think, that's not enough to prove to me that he is the future quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. If anything, that goes to tell me that he is just an incredibly safe backup. He doesn't turn the ball over, but he doesn't go down the field. He doesn't drive down the field. He refuses to look down the field. He refuses to throw the ball down the field. He cannot get his points on the board. So whatever you want to say about him winning us football games or being 7-2 or realistically 7-5 last year when he played quarterback and how he didn't turn the ball over, none of it equated to points on the board compared to what Mason did. He can throw down the field. He can get us down the field. He can get points on the board. He can hit his targets. There's a massive difference in Mason and Kenny, and it was a ton of exposure of Kenny's flaws. It really was. And Kenny's got to grow. He has a ton of pressure on him at this point, man. Like he has like I said, a very short leash, and that's why the Steelers are going to bring in quarterback competition as they should. With that being said, will that be Mason Rudolph? I don't know. He's a free agent.
Yeah.
But I think we all agree he should be brought back. The offense just runs so much better under Mason. The players just play better under Mason because he can get them the ball, and they feel like they just rally better when Mason is the quarterback. The entire offense does.
Yeah. You sense a different type of energy with the offense. A big morale boost from everybody with the wide receivers, especially Pickens and Johnson. They get more involved. They see the ball more, especially down the field.
Right.
You just see and feel a different vibe when Mason's in there. And Tomlin acknowledged that. He acknowledged that Mason was prepared for that type of pressure, for that type of moment, and he stepped up in that moment.
Yeah.
And he didn't admit that they do want him back. They just know that he's a pending free agent.
And obviously with that comes other contract offers and negotiations and other teams you got to battle with to retain Mason Rudolph, who's definitely going to have a much greater market than he did last year. No doubt about it. He has earned a job in the NFL. He has earned at least a quarterback 2 spot somewhere. But I feel like wherever Mason goes, he's going to compete for a starting role.
He's earned that right. He's earned that right to compete for a starting role for any team.
And it's about time, man. He's waited too damn long. The Steelers have buried him under the depth chart for too long under first-round bum mediocrity quarterbacks and Mitch and Kenny, unfortunately. And now he's finally getting his opportunity. He's going to get a market, and the Steelers should definitely make it a priority to bring him back, not only for that quarterback competition, but to give him an opportunity to be the quarterback 1. Now, with that being said, if they keep Mason, a Kenny versus Mason battle doesn't sound threatening. It does not come off as, man, look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. It doesn't come off as, man, you look at all these great quarterbacks in the NFL. You look at all these great teams and the quarterbacks start leading them. And then you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. It doesn't come off as threatening to the league. It doesn't. They do enough to get the job done. Mason, much better than Kenny, can get his points on the board. And I feel like he could be a very serviceable, much better starter next year, if that is going to be the case. But at the same time, he's not the future. He's not. He's a bridge. He's very much like a Geno Smith. Geno Smith is not a threatening quarterback, but he's someone that's incredibly serviceable. He's someone that can help get points on the board. He's someone that is safe with the football, and he is someone that is having a career resurgence at the right time. He's a bridge. Mason's is pretty much a bridge. So he's not the future, but he's a bridge. Do the Steelers want to go with a bridge quarterback next year? So what do they mean when they say competition for Kenny Pickett? Obviously, Mason's going to be involved if they can retain him. If not, then who would that be? Do they bring in a free agent? Do they bring in a top free agent? Do they look toward the draft? If they do, where do they target quarterback? And that's going to be very important because the Steelers have a lot of needs, man. A lot of needs.
Yeah.
Too many, as a matter of fact.
Well, with the quarterback position, Tomlin was asked if he believed that the 2024 starting quarterback is currently on the roster. His answer to that was simply yes. Now, keep in mind...
Repeat that?
You want me to repeat that?
Yes.
Tomlin was asked if he believes that the 2024 starting quarterback is currently on the roster. He stated yes.
Well, let me tell you right now. I disagree.
Tomlin, respectfully, I have to disagree.
I wonder who he's talking about.
Well, in regards to Kenny Pickett, he's now the quarterback 1. Now, I got to say, I feel like the reason he's now the quarterback 1 is because Mason is a pending free agent.
Yes.
I feel like if Mason wasn't, I think that'd be entirely different.
You're right. Unless, if they retain Mason, Mason's QB1. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Kenny's getting second-team reps.
Yeah.
At least for the first couple weeks in training camp.
But Tomlin, with Kenny Pickett, he expressed his extreme confidence in Kenny Pickett, leading up to 2024 season next year.
What else is he going to say?
Well, he just stated that he feels stronger about some of the tangible things than he did when they first started doing business with Kenny because they now have more evidence of him. He mentions that he's highly competitive and professional, that he doesn't run from challenges, he runs two challenges, and that it's evident in the way he plays, particularly at the end of close football games.
I don't disagree with that, except he's just not a very good quarterback.
No, he's not.
As a matter of fact, I feel like a lot of his comeback victories or his game-winning drives in the fourth quarter has a lot to do with the fact that Kenny Pickett just couldn't do anything in the first 3 quarters of the game. He can't. He cannot show up for the first 45 minutes of the game. That's why I say Kenny Pickett this year proved that he is nothing more than just a very safe backup quarterback. He is a very safe Mitch Trubisky. When you watch Kenny and Mitch, there's no difference in the way they play the quarterback position. The only difference is Mitch throws interceptions. Kenny does not. But with that, like we mentioned many times,
the points don't tally up to the no turnovers that Kenny's doing.
No.
The points don't tally up, and that's what you need in the NFL, obviously, to win football games, to score.
Right.
You have to outscore the opposing team. We have not been able to do that. Kenny has not been
Until
able to do
Mason
that.
came in.
Until Mason came in, yes. And just like you stated, that exposed Kenny of what Kenny really is.
I think that Tomlin acknowledged that because you mentioned he looks at Mason differently now.
Yes.
Because when he was forced to put in Mason, and you saw the improvement in the offense, and you saw the trust Tomlin had in Mason, and you've seen that he kept him the starter for the last 4 games of the season, that tells you a lot about Tomlin's faith in Mason. And I think that really told Tomlin's like, yeah, Kenny, we're going to keep him under contract. He's a first-round pick. We're going to keep him along the quarterback room, the QB1 battle, but he's definitely on a short leash now because look at what Mason's doing. Why couldn't Kenny do that? Why couldn't Kenny throw down the field? Why couldn't he get these points on the board? Why couldn't he hit his targets? Why couldn't his accuracy be as good as Mason's? That's what I felt with what Mike Tomlin was feeling towards the end of the season. Just the way he trusted Mason.
Yeah.
So obviously he's going to keep Mason. He wants to keep Mason.
Yeah. But
No doubt about it.
again, Mason and Kenny is not exactly the best looking quarterback competition. And I hope that that's not exactly what the Steelers are looking for as their quarterback competition. Because Kenny and Mason, that should not be the main two to fight.
Right.
Like obviously they're gonna have another guy in. I highly doubt that's Mitch. I think Mitch is gone.
Mitch is gone.
Mitch is done.
He's done.
So they could bring in another guy, whether that's a free agent, a veteran free agent at that for sure, someone that's actually more
Right.
appropriate than what Mitch supposedly was going to bring to the table.
But I also don't want to talk as if Mason is already back under contract because the truth is he could not be. He could go to another team. He could go to a better offer with a better opportunity of being a starter.
And if an opportunity out that were to fall straight to his lap, if he's offered that way,
Go for it.
If I'm Mason, I'm taking that opportunity.
Yes, he absolutely deserves it.
Why
and he should.
why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he?
So with that being said, I mean, yes, we're looking at it right now as Kenny and Mason in the quarterback battle.
At least based off Tomlin's comments, that's what I'm thinking that Tomlin and the Steelers are looking at.
But come the new league year, that might not be the case.
And then
Mason's gonna have a massive market.
And then in that case, the Steelers are going to have to do their due diligence in free agency and bring in somebody because you're not going to have Kenny and Mitch. You're not doing that again.
And with that being said, if they target free agency, who do they target? Because let me tell you, if they're going to grab one of these top names that is going to cost a pretty penny,
A very pretty penny.
there is no doubt that that person is going to be the quarterback one. There is no competition.
Yeah.
Kenny-
if you're going to be
Kenny's
paying
the
that
number
man,
two.
if you're paying that man a boatload of money, I mean,
And those guys,
that's why Mitch was always the number 2 and not Mason because they extended Mitch for no reason.
for no reason.
But because of how much he was being paid, they had no choice but to make him the number 2, although Mason was a much better option.
Right.
So,
But I mean, it depends what they want to view at the quarterback position. Here's how I see it, okay? Tomlin wants to retain Mason. If he retains Mason, it's going to be Mason and Kenny with whoever else they add. That could be a third grade free agent hire or someone they want to see in the draft. We'll discuss that. But I want to get into the fact that Mason could be gone. If Mike Tomlin cannot retain Mason, then he obviously has Kenny, and then the quarterback situation and the quarterback competition becomes more of a pressure point for Mike Tomlin.
yeah.
And that could be someone that they want to attack real aggressively in free agency. That could be a Kirk Cousins, who's coming off an Achilles injury at 35 years old.
I mean, that in itself is a big risk.
And
I would
he's
say a red flag because to suffer that type of injury at this age, I mean, could it affect his playing ability toward it
I think
as he
so.
gets older?
And his market value is going to be very expensive.
I mean, he's arguably the top quarterback available out there.
Well, Russell Wilson also. Now, you and I have said many times, we don't want Russell and we don't want Kirk. I know a lot of people want Kirk Cousins, especially if they get someone like a Clint Kubiak as their OC because he was the OC for the Vikings in 2021, so he has that experience. I mean, we mentioned that in our OC video when we talked about it. So that could mean something there if that's the case. But I don't want Kirk Cousins because it's going to cost too much. and he's coming off an Achilles injury. And I frankly never view Kirk Cousins as a winning quarterback. He's like Dak. He gets the job done. He is a very good regular season quarterback, but when it comes to important and big games or primetime matchups, he's not the guy.
Yeah. Just look at his record on primetime games. Look at his stats on primetime games.
And we can't throw away so much cap space for that. I mean, I understand if you're trying to rush to get a guy like TJ or a guy like Cam Hayward or a guy like Minka a ring, or if Mike Tomlin wants to go all out because this might be his last year, even though we doubt it, because I guarantee you Art Rooney II already has the contract extension printed. Just waiting on Tomlin to sign it.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, that could be something they could look forward to is a Cousins or a Wilson. I don't think that's going to happen. First of all, other teams are going to want to pay more for him. And
I would say those other teams were more so desperate than we are.
Yes.
Like, because they're trying to vie for a quarterback. They're trying. I mean, not to say that we aren't. Not to say we aren't. But Tomlin, I would feel, has, like you said, he's extremely confident in Kenny Pickett. And if he's going to be stating that, he's not going to go out there and throw all this money at these two quarterbacks, unlike opposing other teams that desperately need a quarterback.
But let them throw because.
But let them throw their money.
We're not like other teams. We're not going to throw a lot of cap at the quarterback situation. Because frankly, I look at Kirk and I look at Russell Wilson and I see guys that just can't win it. They can't win it no more.
No.
And frankly, in some cases, they never could. So I'm not throwing all that money in there for aging quarterbacks that aren't going to be here that much longer.
Now, there's a slim possibility, I do want to say this, there's a slim possibility where they could make a trade for a quarterback if they desire to, or if they kind of at this point need to.
Right. And that is obviously at the top of the list is Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Now, if they trade for Justin Fields, which I doubt, he's the quarterback. He's quarterback one. There's no competition. They trade all that capital for Justin Fields.
And
he's going to be the starter.
If the Bears are going to be willing to trade away Justin Fields and replace him with Caleb Williams, who is a stud quarterback, but keep in mind he's a college quarterback coming to the NFL. We don't exactly know how well he's going to transition to the NFL level. So if the Bears are going to take that risk on Caleb Williams and they decide to trade away Justin Fields, they're going to want some pretty good capital in return if they're going to be taking that risk.
Right, but in part of what Tomlin said in the quarterback competition, I just view it as they're going to keep Kenny in that battle, and they're not going to bring in somebody that's going to literally take that job. They're not going to bring in Fields. They're not going to bring in Cousins. They're not going to bring in Wilson. They're not going to bring in a Baker Mayfield. They're not. Because those guys are going to be the complete stars the second they sign the contract.
Yeah.
That's not happening. Like it or not, Kenny is going to be in the quarterback one battle. So whether they retain Mason or not, he's still going to be in that. But that could mean that they don't have to target the big name free agents. They could grab some of these other guys that have been proven backup quarterbacks in the league and that have been serviceable starters in relief time. A guy like Jacoby Brissett looks like a perfect match. He's been very good wherever he's been as a backup quarterback. I mean, you look at maybe a Drew Lock, depending on who their OC is. Maybe that's someone they bring in. Just throwing names out there. Maybe they want to bring Josh Dobbs back. I don't know. I'm just throwing names at the dartboard.
Maybe a Gardner Minshew based off of the season that,
I can see that
he's had. When he had to step in for Anthony Richardson.
I can see that.
That's another possibility.
And the only reason we bring those names up is because again, Mason might not be retained, and if they're going to look at some free agent guys to bring in for the competition battle, those are guys they could look at. Is guys that have shown the proven ability to be a backup quarterback and start in relief if need be.
Yes.
That's the competition they could be looking at. It's not great competition. It's definitely not the answer, but that's just the way the Steelers are looking at it.
Yeah. Without a doubt.
Again,
I wish that the Steelers would go that extra mile and be a little
I
bit
agree.
risky.
But that's where we get into the draft.
Yeah.
Because we talked free agency, we talked the trade options. I mean, they might bring in a number 3 in free agency for whatever reason, even if they do retain Mason. Again, that'll be like a mid-grade type backup, just to be part of the competition. But I feel like the more viable option and the cheaper option is the draft. And I feel like that's the more rich option because all these names you see on the free agency list or names you want to think about the Steelers trading for, it's not as rich as the draft. This draft class for the quarterback situation is very rich. They can get a guy anywhere and find a decent project, especially if they are revamping the offensive coaching staff, if they want to get an offensive coordinator, a good one who could definitely help develop a guy, whether they draft him early or day 2 or day 3.
Yeah, and just at that point, just start fresh. Like, truly start fresh like they probably should have done coming into Pickett's second year.
Right.
Like, start fresh, start new. You know, if they really want to do that, they could.
I agree. But the way I see it, because this whole entire discussion, whether it's Kenny, whether it's Mason, whether it's Kenny and some other guy, most likely to be Kenny and Mason. But it's not blowing you away. It's not. And frankly, if it's Kenny and Mason and whoever else they want to bring in, I'm telling you right now, Mason's going to win. Mason's going to be the starter.
Yeah, just based off performance. I mean,
Kenny
it's
can
night
grow.
and day.
And honestly, man, Kenny sitting on the bench isn't a bad thing. He's under contract for another 2 years. It's not a bad thing. It's like a Zach Wilson situation. That's exactly what he is. Zach Wilson. Now, Zach Wilson's never going to be a starter again, and he's never going to be an every game starter again.
No.
But it's just like the Zach Wilson situation. The only difference is we're not trading for a Hall of Fame quarterback. And we won't. No. We won't. Get that hope out of your mind. It's not happening.
No.
But him sitting on the bench is not a bad thing. Let him learn. Let him develop. I mean, I'm not comparing him to this guy because, I mean, I wish he was this guy. Look at Jordan Love. He sat on the bench for 3 years. 3 years. And look what he's doing with the Packers right now.
Yeah.
Insane stuff. The quarterback situation does take time. I'm very aware of that. I'm still not fond. I'm still not impressed by what Kenny Pickett showed, but him sitting on the bench is not a bad thing. He can learn. He can develop. Even I would give you a more realistic, a more better option. Look at Mason. He has sat on the bench for years, and it has got him to the point of where he's at, where he's the best quarterback on the roster. He saved our season. He led us to the playoffs. I mean, look at that. Sitting on the bench is a blessing in disguise for a lot of quarterbacks. And that's going to be the same way for Kenny Pickett. Because I do believe, and I think Rob would agree, I think some of you guys would agree, if the quarterback competition is as Tomlin wants it, Mason's going to win. Unless they bring in someone that is really going to push hard enough to be a starter, whether that is someone in the draft or someone in free agency. But it looks to me Tomlin is really focusing on Mason and Kenny first and foremost.
Yeah.
That's what he wants. And nonetheless, either way, I think Kenny's sitting on the bench. I don't think Kenny's starting. I don't think he's the day one starting quarterback next year. Unless there's an injury, I don't see him starting week 1. I don't. So him sitting on the bench is not a bad thing. Even if we do draft a quarterback, however they want to, if they want to get aggressive and grab one of the better ones, I think that's a great idea. I know we have a ton of positions to fix, especially on the offensive line, so it's not probably ideal right now, but the quarterback situation is very it's stacked this year, and I just feel like because of the Mason and Kenny battle and where it could lead us, which could very well be the same season all over again. Yeah. We got to be a little aggressive at the quarterback position.
And seeing what Omar Khan did during the draft process last season, he was very aggressive with trading up to acquire Broderick Jones. Yeah. He was very aggressive throughout that entire draft process. The man was not messing around one bit.
None.
And when it comes to uncertainty at the moment with the quarterback position, and he wants to make that move. He wants to be aggressive once again for his second draft as our GM. He could absolutely go out his way and make that move.
Right. And there's guys he can trade up for, man. Obviously, like Jaden Daniels from LSU could sit for a couple weeks. Bo Nix, who I'm not very fond of. J.J. McCarthy is someone they could draft later on. I mean, Michael Phoenix is definitely going to be a project. He's definitely going to have to sit for sure. You've seen him in the national championship game. He's someone that's going to have to sit, but he could be a project. I mean, there are definitely options out there for the Steelers to select at any point in the draft. Many names, those are just some of the more realistic I would throw out there. Maybe Jaden Daniels isn't very realistic because he'll probably be a top 10 pick, especially if he does the pro day and all that, and he's probably going to show out. But I'm still going to throw the names out there because, I mean, they're going to look at all their options. They're going to do their due diligence, as they always do. And that's the one thing I'm not really sure of what they're going to do for the third quarterback spot. They could go free agency. They could go the draft. If I was a betting man, I would probably say the draft, but I could not tell you where.
Yeah.
A part of me wants them to go a little aggressive because it's really needed for the future of this team and just how stacked quarterback is this draft. But I also acknowledge we have too many needs to be aggressive. But I don't know, man. It might call for Khan and company to be very, very busy this offseason.
Yeah, big time. It's a major offseason for everybody involved.
Right, but nonetheless,
it's huge.
Mike Tomlin did confirm that there will be competition for Kenny Pickett, and he is hoping to bring Mason back.
So based off what he stated, he's looking at Kenny and Mason to be the main competitors, but who else he adds into that pool of competition is yet to be determined.
Right.
That could be free agency. That could be the draft.
Could be both.
Very slim. Could be a trade possibility.
Right.
I highly doubt, but, it's not far-fetched.
There's just two things I'm definitely certain with, and I would definitely put money on it for sure. Is one, they are not going to make a move that's going to completely confirm who quarterback one is, which means they're not going to sign a big name. They're not going to trade for a big name. They're not. That solidifies your quarterback one, takes away any and all competition talk.
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin wants competition. He's going to get it. He's not going to make a massive move at the position. So get that out of your head. And number two, Mitch Trubisky's not going to be involved in that.
No.
Not even close. He's gone.
No, he's done.
He's gone. So whoever the third quarterback is, if they can retain Mason, that's going to be very interesting to see. We'll see what they do. Could be a very familiar NFL backup quarterback that's been around a couple years. Could be someone they want to build and want a project with Kenny Pickett. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's going to be a very interesting offseason, but especially at the quarterback position. I feel like Steelers got to nail very well here. I acknowledge they have too many other needs to kind of do that, but it's a very massive necessity. It really is.
Yeah, Tomlin coming back for another year. The OC position is obviously something to keep an eye out for. First and foremost, see who he brings in and fills that vacant spot, who he wants to grab to try to utilize this team and help out whoever the starting quarterback may be. And, of course, seeing exactly who's going to be the starting quarterback for the Steelers for the 2024 season. Two of the biggest positions that Tomlin and the company are going to have to strike and hit all cylinders. Because it is massive.
They have to.
It's massive.
It's a must. It is a massive must for Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers to nail these two. But once you nail OC, perhaps you can nail quarterback. It's going to be very interesting, man. But I'm glad Tomlin acknowledged that these are the things that have to be done. So props to Tomlin for that. We're not very fond of Tomlin, but
it's hard to trust Tomlin.
It is.
But at least he's acknowledging what he needs to do.
It's just a matter of how he's going to go about it, what he's going to do, and what decisions he will make. It's going to be very interesting, man. And this is only the beginning of the offseason. He's already telling us things we want to hear. Now let's get to that point, man. It's going to be very fun. So let us know your guys' thoughts down below. Is there any other quarterbacks you guys could think that they could bring in? What are your thoughts on the quarterback competition? What's your thoughts on Kenny Pickett or even Mason's future? Let us know everything and all options down in the comments below. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next one.
And as always, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later. Peace!